Hello, BookTube. Mark over at Book Time with Elvis has a wonderful video template idea. These are the kind of ideas that people will dream up now and again that work at all times. They are basically plug and play video ideas that are unbelievably fascinating. If they're done well, they're unbelievably fascinating. The biggest of these kinds of video template ideas would probably be something like a library tour, where it's a self-contained thing. Everyone knows the rules right away, and it can make for fascinating videos. And you've also seen another fantastic video template that I mean to do more of over on David Wiley's channel, his Bookshelf Essentials, where you pick a book from your shelves that isn't like the other books on your shelves. You actually treasure it more for whatever reason. Turn on the camera and tell us about the book and tell us about the reason. And Mark over on his channel came up with an idea a while ago for a series of videos, a video template called What a Corker, about a book that is just terrific. It is just terrific, and maybe you haven't given it the time of day. Maybe you're not as aware of it as you could be, and that's the purpose of the video, is to raise its profile just a bit. And I want to do that. I saw his latest one just recently, just I think this morning, and wanted to do a What a Corker of my own on a book that I've mentioned many times before on this channel. It's appeared, actually, speak of the devil, on a number of my library tours, but I wanted to give it a little spotlight today. It's from 2010, so almost 15 years ago. It's by Nigel Hamilton, the great biographer, Nigel Hamilton, and it's his book, American Caesars, which is a collection of brief lives of the presidents from FDR to George W. Bush. So obviously it's not a gigantic book. They each get 30, 40 pages, something like that, to finish out the book. But it's more than that, because it's patterned after the 12 Caesars of Suetonius. As Hamilton himself points out, he's patterning these things after Suetonius's idea of packing in as much information and maybe as much gossip as possible into a short amount of time, a one-sitting reading of his various subjects. And Suetonius is also dealing with a little bit of his subject's posthumous fame. Did the Romans make a god out of this person? Or rather, did they conduct damnatio in memoriam, where they tear his name off every monument, chisel it out of the marble? Either end of the spectrum, how was this person posthumously regarded? I think when Hamilton wrote this book, most of these people were still alive. So he's not talking literally posthumously, just the posthumous he's referring to here is their reputation, not necessarily their lives. And he puts it well in his brief preface here. Of course, he can't allow himself much room for a preface or an introduction because he's got a lot of ground to cover. Several of these people have had whole libraries of books written about them. He writes, where the American Empire will go from here, how long it will last as it competes with other rising empires, and how it will manage its epic struggle to embrace the values enshrined in its great constitution, is not for me to predict. In the meantime, there are too many lessons to be learned from the lives of these 12 men to neglect or forget them. The reader will not necessarily agree with my judgments embedded in these life stories. The reader will also have his or her own views on which of the 12 American Caesars and deputy Caesars most resemble Suetonius' heroes or his tyrants, such as Tiberius, Caligula, and Nero. Whether we like it or not, however, these were the men chosen, one after another, to lead the United States in what will be regarded as its greatest days in the role of dominant world superpower. They surely deserve to be seen, as Suetonius saw their Roman forebears, unflinchingly and yet with charity, together with their private lives that remind us in their affections how intensely human and individual they were, despite the great burdens they undertook on behalf of the empire. And then he finishes his preface by saying, that said, let us begin with the greatest Caesar of all. And we start with Franklin Roosevelt. You get his time in office, but you also his official coin. Every U.S. president has an official coin. And you get the judgment, the Suetonian judgment, later deified. And that varies from person to person. Like, for instance, if we move to, let's just pick at random. Well, we could go to John F. Kennedy, later deified, with his coin there. But that isn't true for everybody. Lyndon Johnson is later reviled, for instance, which is in itself a judgment call on the part of the author. You might look at his Great Society or his civil rights legislation and say that he certainly wasn't later reviled. I think what Hamilton is probably looking at there is Vietnam. Here, of course, we have Richard Nixon, later reviled. And if we move on to the immediate successor to Richard Nixon, we get Gerald Ford, and the judgment here is respected. And with Jimmy Carter, it's reviled, later respected. And you get a sense right there that this is going to be a book that you argue with. And it is marvelously a book that you argue with. Because Hamilton stays true to what he says in that preface. He is trying his best to trash compact the legacy, the administration, the policies, the decisions, and the after effects of all of these people into a tiny amount of space. It is unbelievably good reading. Even if you disagree, it's unbelievably good reading from start to finish. It has bounced around in my personal collection forever. Since I first read it. I've been stuffing things inside it since I first read it. It's bounced around in my collection forever as I try to make sense of, does it belong in history? Does it belong in biography? Does it belong in the little book room? Because I treasure the judgment calls so much here. They are so informed. There is so much an author who is actually present and thinking about these things that even when I completely disagree, and I completely disagree on, I'd say, about half these lives, I still had a blast reading it. It's a blast of a read. If you are someone who likes to read books on American presidents and have somehow missed this book, maybe because it doesn't have the word presidents, and I would strongly recommend that you read it. It will be not quite like anything else that you've ever read on the subject. It's terrific. It's a corker. And I chose it, I think, specifically because I am, as usual, following all of the news. I don't talk about it much on this channel anymore. I don't talk about it much anywhere anymore. But it's not Nigel Hamilton's fault, of course, from a book almost 15 years old. It's not his fault that what he chose as a literary affectation, maybe even a playful one, 2/3 of the American voting public and 1/3 of the American political class wants to make a reality. Once upon a time, it was a playful, maybe even portentous figure of speech to refer to American presidents as Caesars. Caesars, of course, were not elected. They were autocratic. They ran the country by fear, intimidation, and control of the Praetorian Guard and the legions. It's not that anymore. It's a far more explosive term now. We are currently here in the United States in the midst of a presidential election, and one of the two candidates wants to be Caesar. He wants to rule without the law. He wants to eradicate the Constitution and rule as a dictator, not as a figure of speech. It's not an overblown joke or a playful play on imagery. He actually wants to do it, and a huge percentage of the American voting public is behind that. Okay, our grandfathers fought and died for this democracy, but we're kind of bored with it. It's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more clickable, a lot more scrollable to have a whimsical dictatorship with a lunatic at the head of the ticket. So we're going to do that. And the rest of you, the 140 million of you, who don't want to be slaves. Sorry, not sorry. It's not Nigel Hamilton's fault that has moved from being a playful figure of speech to a definitely possible reality. To a real possible reality, with all the concomitant horrors, that Al Qaeda doesn't think will come to them. Uh, see, you can see the idea of it works me up, and I bring this book down off the shelf periodically in order to defang that excitement, because this is not Nigel Hamilton's fault. This is a fantastic, fantastic book. It's not responsible for what has followed after George W. Bush. I would love to see an update of this, but I don't imagine Nigel Hamilton is all that interested in doing that. But some of the 40-page treatments here of some of these presidents will be some of the most memorable and knowledgeable treatments of these figures that you will read. The chapter on Gerald Ford in this book was the best thing written about Gerald Ford until he got, at long last, a full-dress biography of his own just a couple of years ago. And the thing that you can't escape with this book, the thing that will make it so maddening, is that it is informed. It's not just I'm going by Doonesbury cartoons and a little bit of Wikipedia now. So oh goodness, we have some activity on the seat of ease. What are you doing, baby? You gonna give them some Frida yoga? Oh! You're so dramatic, Frida. You're such a drama queen. Do you want to come down here? Give them some Frida yoga? Oh! What a corker! So that's my entry in the What a Corker is American Caesars by Nigel Hamilton. This is a terrific book, just thoroughly enjoyable. So I'll wrap this up for now. If I remember, I'll leave a link to Mark's video, and I encourage you to do What a Corker if you have a BookTube channel. I'd love to hear about it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.